What's up, landlords? All right, I got a video for you today. This is a bad one. And before we get into it, I just want to make a point and say, hey, I don't want to discourage anybody from being a landlord or think that this should be cause for selling your rentals and getting out of the business. I think this can be prevented. And I want to use this as a learning aid because the landlord I'm about to share her story with you, she actually was an accidental landlord. And she even said in another video when she explained the situation leading up to this eviction, how she was an accidental landlord and she kind of just was figuring it out. And I think this happens to a lot of us in the beginning. And if we stick around long enough, then we figure this stuff out and we can, be a landlord and it's easy for us. And then at that point, we're not worried about, oh, this is painful. We're trying to get out of the business. We're just like, we can do this forever. This is easy. All right. So let's get into it. First, I'll just point out her channel. The lady's pretty interesting. She's a military veteran, a single mom. I think she's like a software engineer in Virginia. And her story starts with her purchasing a property. Let me just give you the details before I want to show you the video. She purchased a property in Maryland, and when she was getting out of the military, and she lived there for a little bit, and she was driving like 2 hours to work into Virginia, and it was like getting burdensome. And at some point, she decides to purchase a new house closer to work, and she decided to rent out this townhome. And she explained when she was going through the process of finding tenants for this townhome that she had, a lot of the people that applied had, no credit, and just they all had like a sob story and all this stuff. So she decided to go Section 8 because she understood that Section 8 will be a guaranteed paycheck. It doesn't cover 100% of the rent, but it's a proportion based on the individual in the Section 8 program, and they reassess that, and sometimes they'll give them more or less Section 8. But this landlord thought this was a good bet, and she ended up having this one tenant for 12 years. So it sounds good that you have one tenant for that long, but I don't think she was increasing the rent, and she forgave some past delinquent rent when the tenant went to jail. She explained that when the tenant was in jail, she felt bad for her. She felt like she was wrongfully jailed, and it had something to do with race. So she even went to court hearings with her and like testified on the character of this tenant, trying to help her out. And she basically said she forgave all that past rent. But when COVID kicked off, she stopped paying her portion of the rent. And though the Section 8 vouchers were still coming through and the landlord was able to pay the mortgage, she had to come out of her pocket, maybe like a couple hundred. And when her tenant's Section 8 got adjusted and lowered, she actually had to come out of pocket like $400 just to cover the mortgage. And that's not, considering like Capex and, repairs and anything else that she should be setting aside. You want to be able to cash flow so you can weather some storms that come. And this is a major storm that she's in. And let's get into it. Let me show you. All right.
According to the Washington Post, millions of families are at risk of eviction. Countless thousands of others have had to file bankruptcies or endure foreclosures. I've been pouring through newspapers ever since May of 2021 in hopes of finding word of programs that can help me. My searches have been unsuccessful because story after story, article after article have for the most part told a one-sided account. $46 billion worth of programs have risen to be the champion of certain people affected by this crisis, the tenants. I have really found anything in mainstream media that conveyed my side of the story. I am a small landlord. I haven't received rent for my property since March of 2020. The newspapers say it's because of the pandemic. I say it's due to a select group of people who have chosen to use what's happening in the world to get over on people like me. This is my story.
All right, y'all. We are approaching the house for the first time. Don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Don't know if she's going to be there, if she's not going to be there. Are the other players going to be there? Is the house going to have some damage? Like, are we going to see?
Is the house going to be there?
Yeah. Are windows going to be broken? Is the door going to be open? We don't know. Oh, that was easy.
I know, he's fast. Sheriff's office. Hang on, let me check.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta walk through first.
All right, so it looks like she may be gone, but just left a bunch of stuff, which I guess I would have did the same thing had I been evicted. Yeah, it's like, let that be somebody else's problem.
Whenever you can.
Oh, wow. So she left the water.
All right. Real quick, as we're getting into this, you're going to notice a few things that I noticed. I watched it a few times, so I was able to pick up on this stuff maybe the second, third time. But you notice the power's off. You'll hear the smoke detectors like chirping in the background, and obviously the water is going to be running, and you'll see all the flooding and water damage, which is crazy. But something that may come to mind is like, why was the water in the tenants or in the landlord's name, and why was the landlord providing the water? Notice how the power's off because the power was in the tenant's name, and of course, if they have to foot the bill, they're going to be making sure they're not wasting the electricity. So they can't they turned off the power, obviously because they're gone, but the water was in the landlord's name, so they used that against the landlord to stop up everything, all the sinks and tubs, and just cause a bunch of flooding damage. But obviously, as a landlord, you don't want to pay for the utilities, but sometimes you're in a predicament where, let's say this is a townhouse, and in the community the HOA provides the water, and the whole community is under 1 meter, so they're able to include that in HOA. So as the landlord, she wouldn't be able to, hand over the utility as far as the water goes into the tenant's name. So that's just something I was thinking about. I was like, it's a good rule of thumb to not provide the utilities, even if you want to try to offset your rent by increasing it an extra $100 because on average the water, the power's X amount. It's just better when you give responsibility to the tenants and let them take ownership, and they will be aware and good stewards of their usage, and not wasting stuff. So let's just keep going, see where this goes.
Run in.
Yeah, in all the bathrooms, all the tubs.
Wow.
And you don't know how long she had this water running?
We don't know because I want to say, when did he put the eviction notice on the door? Who knows how long she had it on for?
So look, it's like leaking from the ceiling.
No, you're out of here.
Okay, Mr. Nolan is.
See, this is her other video that I watched that went through the details. She explained the situation, and I'm going to provide that link as well. So you guys, if you're interested, you could watch it.
Is he out there?
No, he's not here.
Okay. My goodness.
Hold on, y'all.
The movers were told that they shouldn't go in and start removing stuff because it's a hazard because all the water is slippery, and they were thinking that maybe the roof might collapse because they didn't really know how long this flooding was taking place. But the little bit of details that I gathered from this, I think it wasn't very long because they put the eviction notice up and they got a heads up that they were about to get kicked out, and then that gave them time to get stuff in order so they can get out, and they flooded the place right before they left. Fortunately, this landlord got in there quick. She was there present when the sheriff is making sure the place is clear, about to serve the eviction and make sure they get out. So she was able to get in there and turn the water off. All right, let's get back to it.
If you go in the bathroom, I wouldn't go in the bathroom too much because I don't know how strong it is in there because you might fall through. I don't know.
So how do we turn the water off?
This is another thing. She doesn't know how to turn the water off for her unit because she didn't know where the main shutoff valve was. They did go around and turn off the water at each individual point that she's like the tenant was flooding sinks and tubs and stuff like that. You definitely should know where that's at, and I recommend filming yourself turning the water off at the main shutoff and having that as a resource that you can provide to the tenant. So if, let's say, there's a leak and the tenant is confused, like, how do I turn the water off to the house? You can provide that resource to them so they know what to do in case of emergency, and they're not trying to figure it out when there's flooding. Also, I'm confused about the movers. I really don't know how this works in Maryland in the eviction process. Like when the sheriff comes out to serve the eviction, do they automatically include movers? Or movers present because they assume there's going to be a bunch of stuff in there and they're pulling out all the belongings out to the street? I don't know how that works, or maybe the landlord arranged to have movers there, but it's just a question maybe you guys can answer. I didn't know.
I think we can just turn the knob though. I just went through the house before the check. Pretty sure nobody was here.
Real hard after a truck like turtle slash garage.
I think you just turn it off. Did you get the run off, the one off? Yes. I just don't know how long the water was sitting. I don't know how strong it is.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, guys. Wow.
Make sure, I'll advise you, I'll make sure to take pictures of everything in here so you can, if you're gonna sue her, you can make sure you have documentation.
Mom, can you guys take pictures? Take pictures. No, not video, pictures. Yes. Yeah, so, but we can see, wow. We can see how nasty and dirty it is because it's like, and be careful on these floors.
And then the basement's full of, it's running down there too somewhere, I couldn't see.
You don't know how long she had this water running?
We don't know because
We don't.
I want to say when did he put the eviction notice on the door? Who knows how long she got it on?
Yeah, that's why I wish that they didn't get noticed. That would have been awesome.
Down here still running.
Yeah, it's a bathroom down there too.
I'm alright.
So she just mentioned that she wishes that they didn't give the tenant notice that they're about to get evicted because now you can plot and think about how to do some damage and stuff like that. It's unfortunate. If you read the comments, you'll see a lot of people, their hearts going out to this lady as a landlord saying, I can't believe people would do this. It's horrible. It's criminal. They should go to jail. Some people are saying this tenant should get their butt whooped. I get it. I know. And I don't want to say this. I'm not picking on the lady, the landlord, but part of it is her responsibility. I would not recommend lowering your standard as a landlord to try to get, Section 8. Like she initially started this where she wanted to rent it out. And she explained that, just because your first bit of applicants are not qualified, it doesn't mean you need to lower your standard and say, hey, let's go to Section 8. It's unfortunate because there are good people on Section 8, and this isn't a story, that happens for everybody, but it does discourage landlords from wanting to be even humor that whole Section 8 voucher program and everything. And just a reminder, something I learned, if somebody does call up and they're interested in a rental you have, or they email you, and they ask you, do you guys accept Section 8? Do not say, no, we don't accept Section 8, because you could be held liable. Maybe that's discrimination. Obviously, the landlord wants to avoid problems like this. But a good rule of thumb is say, hey, we welcome all applicants. You're welcome to apply, and do not discourage somebody from applying or say, no, we don't accept Section 8. That's very important, because I think I remember reading somewhere of a big lawsuit. Some apartment complex got in a lot of trouble because people would call asking about Section 8 and they would just straight up say no, and that's discriminating. You should say, as a small-time landlord, or as you get more units, even if you have one, it's just good to know this stuff and just do the right thing. So ideally you would have a pre-screening criteria, and you would have your qualifications posted, the amount of the rent and all this stuff. So if somebody was Section 8 and they're looking at your property, they're just automatically going to disqualify themselves by seeing the high standard that you keep, and you just avoid all this nonsense if you carry yourself at a higher level, and professionalism and higher property level, and you avoid this mess. One other thing that I was going to point out was about properties, Section 8. What was it? Dang it, maybe it'll come back to me. There's just so much going through my mind. It's hard. I'm trying to deliver it so it's helpful. But let's keep going.
Yeah, it's a mess in here, man.
My goodness.
Oh, no.
Wait, I need them to do something.
Well, I mean, they're going to have some of this. Just be real careful on the floor there. I don't know how slippery it is.
Okay, so there's a bathroom over here. So, yeah, if you can give me some light.
There's something else running in here.
Yeah, that's like the washing machine. Oh my gosh. All right, how do we just turn that water off?
I think it's on. It says it's off.
But what's that
I think
noise?
it's the hot water or the heater on the pipes or something. Some of the water must still be on upstairs.
Okay. Let's see, and there's like there's like some water over here. And this is crazy because they try to tell you you're not allowed to turn off utilities as the landlord, but
I know.
And now it's like this right here goes to show that you should be able
You guys hear that? That's the police officer in the background. She's like, oh, it's, basically saying it's crazy. You're not allowed to turn off the utilities, which makes me think maybe she did have the water in her name and she was able to turn off the utilities. The police officer's like, I know. It's just not fair. Some of the laws, the way they created them, they have like these lawmakers, they have a big heart. They feel like they're doing a good deed to society and helping the citizens. But unfortunately, they don't consider how these laws can be exploited by just horrible people. There's wicked people out in the world. And that's why some of the responsibility does lay on the landlord. We have to be prepared and anticipate some of this stuff and just, learn our lessons and adapt and overcome and do not get discouraged. This lady has a really good attitude. She's trying to keep a good positive outlook on things, not letting this like get the best of her. But it weighs on you as a landlord when you run into problems like this. And then other people see the situation and they're like, oh man, forget this. I'm never going to be a landlord. But we have to figure this out for our future and our family's future. You need residual income, a hedge against inflation, because the cool thing about rental properties is as society, and they print more money and everything, and everything costs more money in the future, that you can raise your rents to the current market. Everybody knows stories of like little old ladies living in a house and they're just like barely surviving and they don't fix up their house. They got like deferred maintenance, and those are good buys as an investor. You want to buy the old granny's house that hasn't been upgraded, that's out of date. But how does that happen? Because it sneaks up on so many of us. We don't save enough for retirement. We don't invest enough, or we fail to estimate how big of an impact inflation has on what we do save up in our nest egg. If you can just manage to just keep a few rental properties and lock them down, pay them off, that's going to be a hedge against inflation. So your rental income can always go up as the dollar loses power and everything else costs more. It's just really important. I want to encourage you guys, do not give up. Don't let this discourage you if you're considering being a landlord. You can do this. That's the message I want to push forward with this. All right, let's keep going.
And you guys are taking pictures?
Yeah, I'm trying to get what I could get.
Yeah, because I do need them to, yeah, and it's like dog stuff over here, guys.
Yeah, it's all over right here.
Something else I remember in her video explaining her situation leading up to this eviction, she was really, letting this tenant get away with murder because she hinted towards like, this, tenant getting a dog, and she kind of let that pass, going to jail and getting behind rent and letting that pass. And then when she initially stopped paying her portion of the rent, she kind of let that drag on for so long because she was reluctant to go in there and figure out what kind of mess there is. Cause she was basically anticipating, $20,000-$30,000. I think she maybe said 10 or 20,000 to get that place up to par, because the tenant was there for like over 10 years. Don't let that discourage you. That just goes back to like being prepared. You should have a Capex fund, an emergency fund and stuff set aside. And when the tenant starts slipping, you're emboldened to say, hey, let me go in there and just handle business and take care of this. When the tenant is breaking the rules, this is business. You need to enforce the rules. And if you slip, you're letting your guard down, and the tenant is, vibing off of your standard that you're setting, and they're just going to keep getting away with more and more and more, pushing the envelope until you can't take it. And it's just this horrible situation like this. So it's really important to uphold your rules and enforce the lease and stuff like that, because if you don't, then, that's a cause for concern, and it's just problems just slowly creeping up on you.
Y'all see this? That's one of my novels that I gave her and signed to her, and she left it behind. Like, this is just so rude.
On so many levels.
Wow.
Here's to hollering until somebody hears you. Thanks for being a great tenant.
So, again, you do not want to be your tenant's friend. This is business, And no matter how much of a rapport that you build with your tenant, if you're the landlord and they see you as the sole decision maker and you are like the boss, you're never going to be on enough good graces with this tenant that is going to prevent them from doing some horrible eviction process like this and causing you damage and stuff. They're going to forget about all the times that you're good for them, and they're only going to worry about the situation at hand. They're getting evicted, and the tenant is the tenant is going to view the landlord as the greedy landlord and just despise you. If you carry yourself as like a business and you have professional domain, email, number, website, FAQs, and you present yourself as the property manager, don't lie, obviously, because tenants can look up the ownership of the property. If you don't have it in an LLC and it's in your name, they're going to know this. But still, you can explain if they do prod, don't lie. Just, yes, it's a family business and I'm the property manager assigned to this unit and I'm going to take care of you. And if there's ever problems or issues, you're not the sole decision maker. You're just an employee in the family business and you'll get back to the tenant. So there's ways that we can mitigate our risk if we learn from each other in our mistakes and stuff and don't give up. Whatever you do not give up. All right. So her giving this book, because I think she's an author. She wrote a few books and she's an interesting lady. And she gave this to the tenant and she said, thanks for being the best tenant and stuff like that. I know I can kind of see, where she's coming from. But if you're going to do, like some kind of like outreach and and like charity like stuff, don't do that associated with you and your rental business. Do that completely separate. Help somebody else. Give your books to somebody else, but just not your tenant.
Y'all, this is crazy. This chick, this is why you try to be nice and help people. Y'all, I'm not even feeling overwhelmed just yet. It's gonna hit me.
Yeah, I know.
It's gonna hit me. It's gonna hit me. Oh my gosh. We're not gonna cry. Okay. We're not gonna cry. We are not gonna cry, okay?
I know, right?
We're not gonna cry. This girl been here for 12 years and I helped her so much over the years.
She left the world?
Yeah. She stopped paying her rent in March of 2020. And she was on Section 8, so it was like, really? And then I could see, look, Ma, you could tell she had everybody living in here, even though she act like they weren't living here.
Hello.
Guys.
Alright, this house is destroyed. Alright.
Yeah, look what the oven, like all of that. And she took is that I can't even remember what refrigerator I bought her. I forgot.
You can see, let me rewind it a little bit. You can see the water dripping from the ceiling. Gosh.
Like all of that. And she took is that I can't even remember what refrigerator I bought her. I forgot
I mean, the refrigerator's still kind of cold. So it might not be that old.
Me. Tanisha.
Tanisha, I'm Keita. Okay.
Hi, Keita.
What we're going to do is, we don't know about the foundation upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to get out as much as we can.
Okay.
And William said he can come through and consider it a trash out.
Okay.
After the eviction, because you need to make sure upstairs is stable.
Okay.
So we're going to get out, we can clear the basement, we can clear all this out, we can tiptoe upstairs.
Okay. This is just crazy. What's cooling?
I think I went downstairs. It's off now.
What was it down there?
I called you now, so I did the water heater.
Okay. Girl.
The water heater has to be turned off. Not the water heater, the water has to be turned on. You told me it was water to pull on. But right now I got the tub on for the last little bit of water to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I just turned the tub on a minute ago, it just was flowing out. So, but anyway, let me show you what it is. It just needs to do something to it.
Oh my gosh, girl. I don't even know.
Okay, babe, I appreciate you. Okay, I love you. I appreciate you, bye. All three of these switches right here, they're just not supposed to be up. They're supposed to be down.
Okay.
So you could hear it go off when I turn all three of them.
And then what is that? Is that cement?
Mm.
Oh no, that like says grout.
This is grout.
Huh?
It says bond.
Yes, please.
It says some kind of bond.
Oh my goodness.
You okay?
Y'all.
Campbell, do you know, like, with her leaving, we don't have an address for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you
And
mean.
so how do you even go after people like that?
Typically you just use this address.
Did you catch that? The officer said typically you just use this address. Like, how do you go after the tenant that just left your rental in, you know, all this horrible mess, this in shambles? He said typically use this address because when tenants will leave, normally they'll file a change of address with the USPS, and your mail will get forwarded to the new address. So you can still get the message to them. Additionally, what you could do is when you initially sign the lease, make sure you collect emergency contact information for the tenants, because in this case, you could actually reach out to that emergency contact and be tactful how you do this, because they're obviously a friend of the tenant that just left. So maybe reach out and explain that you're trying to get in contact with the tenant. You're listed as emergency contact and you don't have their new forwarding address. And if you could ask them to provide that for you, and maybe that's an avenue that you could take. Also, in this case, it's Section 8. Maybe they have like some kind of social worker or somebody assigned to them, and as a Section 8, voucher recipient, if you report some kind of like issue like this, maybe they'll lose their privileges and won't be able to abuse the system anymore. Just some ideas for you guys.
Y'all, oh my God. I don't even know. And so I go back to say sometimes being a landlord is overrated. It is not worth it. Like, the risk is just too great.
No, the risk is not too great. You could figure this out. She, as I mentioned before, I watched her other video. She was kind of like an accidental landlord. The reason why she was renting this townhouse out is because she bought a new house in Virginia closer to work, and she kind of threw herself into it. And for 12 years to go by and not be prepared, not increase the rent, not have emergency fund, and not inspect the property, some of that blame should be on the landlord. She should be, and also she was reluctant to get in there when the tenant stopped paying. And of course, there were the COVID protections and stuff, and I understand it was probably hard to, evict somebody during that time. But like what we've seen in the other video where that guy got the squatters out on his own, you could show up there in person and have a serious conversation with them, especially in her case because she was on good terms with this tenant. All right, do not let this video discourage you. You can do this.
The risk is just too great. Y'all, I'm trying not to break down, y'all. Because at the end of the day, I do believe all is well. Y'all will be well. Oh, it's just crazy. Oh, here come one of my neighbors. So, good gracious. This is crazy. I don't know how to turn it off. Put it up front. Because you're going to get trampled. That's it. It's easier for it. Yeah, I don't even know. All right, so
the refrigerator's still cold, so they might have did this a couple days ago or something.
okay.
If they get a letter, they know when they're being evicted.
I know. I just wish that could be different.
I know. We've got to do. That's just some of the policy of the sheriff's office because they want to be nice to everybody and give them a warning, even though they owe everybody thousands and thousands.
Yeah, because it just gives them more time to be vindictive.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it where the whole basement's full. You can't even walk in the basement. It's like a pool.
So,
Gosh, This police officer obviously has done this before, and he said he's seen it where the basement is full of water like a pool. You can't even go in there. That's horrible. And he explained that he has to give the notice to give them a heads up they're getting evicted. And also he was pointing out that the refrigerator was still cold, like the power was recently turned off, and he was thinking that the flooding wasn't going on so long, which is good for her as a landlord. She can get in there quick, which she did get in there quick, which is good. If this happens to you, you want to make sure you do not procrastinate and you get there and get inside as soon as eviction's over. And handle business. But to combat mold and everything, get in there, dry it out, and just be solution oriented and start getting to work and fixing this up and preventing this from happening again. It goes back to screening. You'll hear it a lot with landlords, and how important it is to screen your tenants to a real high standard, set high standards across the board. Carry yourself like a business, and do not lower your standards. You could lower the rent, but don't lower your qualification standards. If you require 700 credit score, or 2.5, 3 times the rent, you got to make sure you hold yourself accountable to that. And you don't want to be in a situation where you're negative cash flow or you have no savings to where you're in a bind where you just let somebody in there that doesn't meet your criteria.
So what happens? Do you know, like rehab companies or anything like that?
Yeah, because you're going to get the mold down there. No, I don't think you will. As long as you get that dried real quick. Mm-hmm. But a lot of you can get mold down there because of the sitting water.
Yeah.
But then you got it in the paint, the boards and everything.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're gonna have to get somebody to come in here and look at that, see how if you can dry it out. You're gonna probably have to replace the drywall, some of the drywall, and some of the parts of the ceiling. It might be able to repair some of it.
So they might as well just move everything out.
Yeah, but I don't even know if they have a truck big enough. So I'm gonna ask because
Yeah, they can haul it out too for you. They just don't have it. They're not able to do it today, I don't think.
yeah. This is crazy.
How bad it is.
Yeah.
The closet.
And then you know what's so effed up? Let me tell you. I put a whole security system. This is the monitor to the security system I got her.
I got to say something about that. All right, so don't do favors for your tenants. I don't know what she's talking about. She installed a security system and had a monitor for the tenant. I don't know how that came about, but if the tenant wants to, have a security system, and it's in your lease and they're allowed to do that, as long as it's not causing damage or anything. Maybe they have like the sticky batteries on sensors on the windows and the doors, something that they can pull off, and it's their own little makeshift security alarm, so be it. But I do not recommend getting in a habit to try to be friends with your tenants, try to do them favors and stuff like that, and letting them know you're the landlord. Just try to treat it like a business and be professional. You're an employee at this business, and you don't make all the decisions. You have to check with people. If she was trying to ask you to install a security camera and you don't know the answer, don't just off the cuff just say, oh yeah, I'll help you, or I'll figure it out, or just give some answer and let the tenant know that, oh, this person hooks me up. Say, I'll have to get back with you. Let me look into that. Make sure you understand your lease as well. So you read all the fine print, and it's really a good idea if you have FAQs, FAQ bank of just a bunch of questions that come up over your time as a landlord, and you don't have to go figure it out every time. You could refer back to your FAQ bank and say, oh yeah, this has been asked before and I've solved this problem before. Here, copy paste, if it's in the lease, refer them to the lease. And over time, you actually get better if you treat your business more like a business, like a replicable business. You're a professional, and you actually scare away bad tenants, and you'll attract the good tenants. The good tenants want to be with you. They want to have the trust and understanding that if something goes wrong, you're a professional, you're going to take care of it. And that's when everything goes good and according to plan. Obviously, nothing's perfect.
I don't worry about making that video already.
All right.
Right.
son of. These are funny. Huh? I'm still on record.
All right. This is pretty much the end of it. Her family shows up, and I'm going to provide the link so you can watch the one that I referenced with the backstory and also this one. I went ahead and liked this video just to, show support. She put herself out there, and, we're never going to get better unless we learn from our lessons. And hopefully this is a lesson we can learn from her lesson, and we don't have to go through it to learn our lesson. But, her family showed up, and it reminds me of like us landlords. We need to stick together and, as a family of our own, and make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable and, not cutting corners and not making mistakes and bettering ourselves, asking for questions and, making sure we don't get caught short like this. So let me know if there's anything I could do for you guys. Leave me some comments or, check me out at, foreverlandlord.com. I'll see you guys around. All right. Thanks. Bye.